A boss mom doesn't allow society to tell her that her goals no longer matter. She handles her business both inside and outside of the home. Welcome to the Bawse Mom Movement Podcast with me, your host, Ashley White, where you'll hear me speak with millennial moms who have not allowed the title mom to stop them from achieving their goals. During this podcast series, we'll discuss how we balance it all and other mom-related topics. It's a space for all my bossy mamas, whether you're an entrepreneur, mama in corporate, or both. Being a boss mom isn't easy, but it's our lifestyle. So with that being said, all right, boss moms, let the movement begin. Hey moms, it's Ashley here from the Bawse Mom Movement, here to invite you to join me in the Bawse Mom Mastermind group. This is a small group that I've created to help us as like-minded women and moms just accomplish our goals. We'll meet on a monthly basis, but you also have the opportunity to have a community at your fingertips as you'll be invited to a private sectioned off group where we'll just be able to discuss on a daily basis different goals that we have for the month and just keep each other motivated and accountable. In addition to that, you will receive a special discount on merchandise and upcoming events. So like I said, join the Bawse Mom Mastermind group. The link is in my bio. And let's just build this community and check off these goals and keep each other accountable. So I hope to see you ladies there. Hey, Boss Moms. Welcome back for another episode of the Bawse Mom Movement Podcast with your host, Ashley White. You are here for season 4, and this is episode 8. Losing My Dreams in My Marriage with Dr. Jamila Pamoja-Thomas. Hey, how you doing? Thank you for joining.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for having me. We're going to have a great time tonight.
I am looking forward to it. Dr. Jamila is an author and a mother of 4, and she is going to share her story with us and also share tips and tricks on how we can enter into marriage and practice self-care and self-pleasure. So I am super excited to have you here tonight.
I am ecstatic. So I want to dive in and let everybody know I was married for 20 years with the same guy for over 20 years.
Oh.
And I was so excited to be married, so excited to have children. My focus was building the foundation, and because my aspirations included having like the backup, you needed funds to get my dreams to actually get started and get to start to grow. So I thought and agreed that it would be best for me to hold off while the establishment of my spouse at the time life was being, situated, because, his success is my success, my success is his success.
Right.
And so when I was also, even with thinking of the children, it's the same, philosophy. Their success is my success. Mommy's success is their success. And I tell them, my goal is to make sure that my ceiling is their floor. And if my ceiling is their floor, they can't help but to continue to elevate, go higher and higher and higher.
Mm.
And so turns out my spouse and I, we were just not compatible.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that was heartbreaking was I was just right at that intersection for myself to really start focusing on my dreams. And I thought that was the path we were going. But it turns out that we're not. And that's fine that we're not. But what I want to share with the women, I want all the mothers to understand that being incompatible with someone holds it's like a hold on you.
Right.
And so you can feel like when you have incompatible differences, the person can feel as if they're being judged, suffocated, criticized, accompanied with the threat of even feeling smaller than their partner. And so the longer you're with a person, the more significant that other person will become to you. Right. And it's a matter of, you definitely have to be in love in order for that person to be very important to you.
Right.
But the thing that happens is you start doing this thing where you're giving a lot of your power to that other person. And they hold a power, and then that's when a breakdown begins. And so consequently, the personal goals, they're not being established.
Right.
And it's a requirement. The problem is there's so many women that are married, that are in relationships, and it's not a requirement for the goals and aspirations to actually be attained.
Right.
It's like, well, it's because, people date and they're like, well, what's your vision? And they know your vision. And then after that, you get love down and all that. You start forgetting about what was the vision.
Right.
And then life happens. All sorts of things start taking place. And so personal goals kind of fades as being a requirement. And so if it's not high on the totem pole, the classification of it as being valuable is removed.
Right.
And
now let me ask you this, because you said 20 years.
Okay.
And you all were not compatible. When did you figure that out? Because 20 years is a long time.
20 years is a long time. There was, there's clues, there's warning signs there. There really are warning signs. And what I had a challenge with listening to myself. And so what I thought I was doing, I thought it was the right thing to do, which was go to counseling, get therapy, when also, the church family, include them to pray for you. And so I thought I was doing the things that were necessary to get us in an alignment so that we could flourish together. Because I didn't sign up for marriage to be divorced.
Right.
But what I did notice is during the time of me being married is that I divorced myself.
Ooh.
And that's not good. That's not good.
Not. So you go through counseling, go through therapy, because a lot of people do, right? You premarital, and then, as you grow with the person, things change, you change, they change.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and that's the thing. But okay, you said two things. You said it's two things. Two things you said. You go through the marriage, you go through the counseling, and people start changing. So what happens is, it should be understood that people are going to change.
Right.
The problem is that when people, prior to getting married, many people are not talking about those personal goals and making those personal goals a requirement. So it needs to be a requirement. If you know that, hey, when I want to get married, have a family, I want to go to school to pursue to be a nurse, to be a doctor, and then your spouse, well, okay, I want to do all of that, but I want to do truck driving. It's like, well, okay, we love each other, you get married, and you just go on with life. But when you start having children, responsibilities require for you to put certain things on hold. And the children are up in the forefront.
Right.
And so because they're in the forefront, what happens to many couples is the parent that is bringing in the most income typically is the one that we focus on the most as the team, as the family, as the marriage. That's the one we focus on the most to elevate financially. Because the parent that is not bringing in financial income it's typically the parent that is the more nurturing person, the primary care provider.
Right.
And so, but there's the value system in both is not equal, because many people don't understand that provision is not just monetary. There has to be a high value in the fact that this other parent is providing primary care. This other parent,
which is a lot.
Right. And so when those types of things are not talked about during premarital counseling, the first 5 years are very crucial, and it's so many transitions that are going on. And if you bring a baby into that equation, early on in the first 5 years, you just become you got another hat that's really high on the totem pole. And so your dreams are going to be pushed to the back, not because you don't want to aspire them, but because when you look at your reality and you look at your responsibilities, they don't seem to add up.
Right. What were your dreams going into your marriage and motherhood?
Since I was a little girl, I always aspired to be a poet. I always aspired to be a poet. And so my route was to initially just write novels, gain a following, because it's extremely challenging to gain a following as an author being a poet. Okay. And so in my novels, I would at times drop poetry in and have some of the characters write poetry, have love letters to whichever character that was going on. And that was my way of doing like a little peekaboo of me writing poetry. And so I always look forward to traveling with my family, just living a life as an artist, as a writer. Writing is my first love. So I've never not wanted to be an author. Right.
So you just became an author upon the divorce?
No, I was in 2017, because I was homeschooling my children. And then August 2017, my two youngest said, "Mommy, we want to go to school." And I'm like, okay, well, everybody knows how to read. I'm not going to hold you back.
Right.
Let's go. So 2017, I was getting them in school. I was focusing. I was also in school for my doctoral degree. Okay. But I was also going along that path of focusing on being the author as well. And so I have a variety of books in the Chance series, and they're my romance erotica books. And so that's my J. Bliss books.
Okay.
And so I use that pen and I would always tell my kids, hey, if it has J. Bliss on it, that means that's not for 18.
That's not for you.
That's for the grown and sexy. Leave that alone.
Okay. I need to check out that line of the books.
Yeah, that can be found on jblissbooks.com and also on Amazon as J. Bliss. But to me, when a person, when people get caught up with saying, okay, I want to be married, and then they do get married, I think the bottom line of when people deter their actual goals, it has a lot to do with not making sure those goals and aspirations are not high on the totem pole. So we have a high value for the marriage, a high value for let's have the children, but it's not a high value for both partners to reach their goals. And when both partners do not reach their goals, you're going to have friction that takes place. Yeah, it's going to be there no matter what goes on. And when that friction takes place, if there's not a recall, reinstating of the value of both persons, then the goals are going to go. They're going to go down. So you want if both persons attain their goals, then you're going to be healthy. Then you're going to be happy, and then you're going to feel delighted to be yourself, but also be delighted to be in a relationship with someone else. And so that, to me, that's the bottom line. so many changes are going to take place in life with a human being. It's supposed to. You're supposed to evolve. That's the way life is. People are supposed to evolve. Everything else changes. We change as well. But we just have to be prepared for the change. And when we're not prepared, that's when we sit down. You have to sit down and have a meeting. And if you decide that, hey, the goals that you want to pursue, I'm not really feeling it, be amicable. That to me, that's the best thing, to be amicable. Sometimes it's not going to be that way because change is not something everybody accepts very well. But when you have children, it's really in your best interest to work very hard to be amicable.
Yeah, I definitely like what you said about, going into the marriage, having those conversations, but then also continuing to have those conversations. I think that's like why women, even myself, like, I mean, I'm not married yet, but I am in a relationship with my son's father, and just having those open lines of communication, because I don't want to lose myself in the relationship or being a mother. That was one of the reasons that I even started this platform, is that we do have these goals and these aspirations before we become mothers, before we become wives, and we shouldn't have to lay them aside. I mean, maybe pause certain things at certain times, because of what's going on. Like, my son, he's only 10 months, so right now I do understand he needs me for everything. And there are certain things that I may not be able to do right now, just because I don't maybe want to overpack my plate with, too much, where I'm not able to give him 100% and give myself 100%. But one thing I also wanted to even touch on with that, and just like not losing sight, is that self-care. I know you had some, oh
my God,
some touch points on self-care. So how did you practice, or what didn't you do? When did you realize that you weren't practicing self-care?
Honestly, when you're not, it ties back into not attaining those goals. Because during my marriage, I was diagnosed with recurrent depression, PTSD, and generalized anxiety, on top of being anemic. And many people don't know, when a person is anemic, oftentimes there are many people that suffer from anxiety and depression. And it has a lot to do with oxygen and how it's not getting to your brain properly. And so with that medical condition, on top of different childhood trauma that I had, entering into the marriage, which is another thing not to do.
Okay, right.
With having those things, it weighed heavy on my perspective about self-care, because not attaining my goals would cause me to be very sullen. I would be very sad about life, period. And so it was like, I put on this happy face taking care of my children. But when I'm intimate with myself, when I have my alone time, I'm looking at myself and I'm not really who I want to be. So the idea of being excited to pleasure myself wasn't there. In comparison to now, it's 100.
It's on and popping, huh?
On and popping. That's good. Okay, I understand. I listen to myself. When my body tells me, look, I want to snuggle, I don't have a guy in my life. So I have my blanket, I have my weighted blanket, I have my tea, my coffee, whatever drink it is that I want at that particular time. I snuggle and spend time with myself.
That's important, though. I think we forget that too. Like, self-care, spending time with yourself and just understanding who you are,
and you lose sight of it. The children, the more children you have, and I can't say it's like that even if a person has one child. No, I'm not going to tell you don't lose sight of yourself. You can have one child and lose sight of your intimate time with yourself.
Right.
And it's because of all of the demands that one child requires.
Absolutely.
So I don't want anyone to think that, oh, well, she had 4 kids and that's why. No, sweetheart. All it takes is one. That's it.
Yep.
So when all of these responsibilities and these schedules and everything starts changing, it's really hard to squeeze in that me time. It really is. But you have to demand it from yourself. You know how we have all these alarms, take this person to the doctor, make sure we get this person medicine. We have to have okay, there's like an email. Well, no, look, you can use your calendar. You don't have to email yourself. Use a calendar and bug yourself. Set this calendar to go off 3 times to remind you to go on a date, to remind you to go sit and watch the sunset. Do whatever it is that you need to do just to have time to yourself. It's a requirement, because if our cup is halfway full, then that means we are giving on borrowed time. And so when it's halfway full, the reality is you really don't have the luxury to extend. So it's our responsibility as an individual. It doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man. It's our responsibility as individuals to make sure that we make time for ourselves.
Absolutely.
So that we can be a more healthy, productive person to anybody else that we're surrounded by. So
I need to do that. I need to set me a couple of reminders.
Yes, intimate time is imperative. I actually have a class that I help females to understand the importance of blissing your seat of life. And that is basically about making sure that you understand the importance of an orgasm, understand the importance of you touching yourself, dating yourself, loving yourself, being the best lover for you. Because what happens is society tells us that, well, and when I say us, I'm saying women. Society tells women that when you date someone, it's their responsibility to make you feel good and give you the best orgasms in the world. No. You came in this world with everything you need. Everything you need, you have it. So imagine going into the kitchen and in the pantry, all the food's there, in the refrigerator, all the food's there. You have the stove, the pots and pans, and then you just sit down and you say, you know what, I'm really hungry. But you have all the ingredients to make and prepare yourself a meal.
Right.
So how hungry are you really?
Yeah.
You have to make the time. We have everything that we need inside of us. Everything that we need. And so it's about making sure that we make that time, make a schedule. And that's what the course that I teach, Blissing Your Seat of Life, that's what that's about. It's a 6-week course, and it's absolutely amazing. It helps people to realize that get in connection with, sometimes we are hesitant to pleasure ourselves because it might be trauma that we're dealing with. Somebody might have done something inappropriate at some time in our life, and the idea of us touching ourselves is like, oh, no.
Yeah.
And we don't realize it, but we take that, oh, no, in the bedroom, even when we are sharing ourselves with our lover. And so it's imperative to truly know your orgasm it's medicine for you. It's what
I read that too. Didn't realize it.
Yeah, that's why I said what we need is already here.
Right.
It's already here. There are some times when my anxiety was at its worst. I remember my daily regimen was I would wake up. I have a waterfall on the wall. I have to turn that on. All the candles, the essential oil aromatherapy is in play all over the house. I have what I call a spiritual bath. And sometimes if my anxiety was too high, my hypervigilance was just too high, meaning my nerves on the inside was just a wreck, I would sit in the sauna for 20 minutes before I would get in to have my spiritual bath. And I would do this on a daily basis. And I remember telling my therapist, oh, this requires so much.
Yeah.
This requirement is so much. But I mean, I feel better once
I was going to say, but it's so needed.
Yeah. And so now I'm at a point where I don't have to do those routines on a daily basis. But I do make sure I'm dating myself. I do make sure that I buy myself flowers, that I'm the most romantic. I love romance.
Yeah.
So I am going to be extremely romantic to myself. I am going to prepare myself a meal, a little snack, and it's going to look like, well, that's for the queen. The queen is me. That's exactly who it's for.
Okay. Hello.
But what it does, it also sets a standard.
I was just getting ready to say, you're setting your own standard, like satisfy your own needs and wants, so that you can even tell someone, you know, when the time is appropriate, like, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. Like, I really do like that, dating yourself. Like, even if you are dating someone else, like, at the same time, like,
if you're dating someone else, they need to know you're dating yourself.
Yeah.
They need to, well, what did you do? I'm so happy you asked. Let me show you. I went on this picnic by the lake and look at all this stuff. See, your competition is me. You're going to have to pull that game up. I'm going to need you to upgrade.
Exactly.
If you're going to be in my life, you're going to have to add too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I need to take a page out of your book, because I don't date myself at all.
Oh, I think you have to date yourself.
Yeah, I think the best date I do is my showers, because my showers after I have my time, I mean, they have gone from 20, 30 minutes, because I always take kind of long showers, to like hour shower. Like, I need all of that time to just be in my zone. Right. That is my happy place.
Right.
But I am curious. So when we go back to talking about losing the dreams in the relationship or in the marriage, and even in motherhood, from your experience, did your partner at the time, did your spouse at the time recognize what were steps that he took to, or maybe didn't take, to recognize your sight being lost and maybe trying to help?
Well, we did therapy. We went to counseling. It was just a point in time in life that the therapy and the counseling was decided to no longer continue with. And so for me, things were crashing for me. When my mother died, my nest broke. And so I was already on a path of pursuing my dreams, because, I had already done the proper investment, done the sacrificing to make sure that all the children were being successful in school, and I was very supportive of making sure that whatever job and whatever school and educational dreams that he was pursuing, I was there.
Yeah.
And so, but when my mother died and I was already in the midst, that was when, right before she died, that was like the year I was like, okay, I'm diving head on in this. But when she died that next year, it was really hard for me. It was extremely hard. And it was so hard that if I would have just said mother at that time, we would not have gotten any further than me just saying mother. But I think it's just going back and forth with changes.
Yeah.
When changes take place, you learn a lot about a person's character. And so you learn about the person that's enduring the changes, as well as the person on the outside that's impacted by the change.
Right.
And so for me, I think there has to be a time in your life that you have to decide as an individual, as a human being, what is actually going to be better for me. Mm-hmm. And it sounds selfish when you say it that way, but the reality is that if I'm not a good person first, I'm not going to be a good, healthy person for anybody else. So I'm not going to be the healthy person for the spouse, for the children. I'm not going to be that healthy person. And so if you see yourself, if there's signs that, hey, I'm sliding down, I'm going more into this dark path versus, elevating, then to me, you have to step back and reflect and do some personal thinking, make some personal decisions to decide either the person that after you get finished thinking and you make your decision and you share with the other person, because if you're not married, then you make the decision.
Right.
If you are married, then when you're contemplating the decision, you can talk about it and so forth. But ultimately, you're still making the decision because it's for you personally. But you keep them in the loop of things because you're married.
Right.
And so my thing is, if it comes to, I got to choose this life where I'm miserable and I'm not able to be myself and pursue my dreams over me, I'm choosing me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most women leave relationships because they choose themselves. The majority of women that leave a relationship is because they leave themselves, in comparison to if a man is leaving a relationship is because somebody was cheating. Or so for me, I chose myself. It was the healthy thing to do. It was the most healthy thing to do. And so I encourage women to make sure you choose yourself. Never relinquish your dreams. Never divorce yourself so to prevent divorcing someone else. You always stay married to yourself. Stay within the purpose of yourself.
Would you remarry?
Will I? Yeah, I will. I'm a wife. Yeah, that's part of my calling. I'm a wife. And I love that I'm a wife. And that's why the idea of dating is challenging, because I'm like, nah, I don't do this boyfriend, girlfriend shit.
Yes, set the standard. Tell him what you want ahead of time.
That's right. I'm like, nah, my king gonna know what he wants. He gonna already know, because I'm not doing training men date camp.
Right. Hello.
Just like I know I'm a wife, you're going to have to know you're a husband. You're going to have to know you're a king, because I'm not showing up to the royal court and you trying to do auditions. Go on over there with the court jester.
Okay. Hey, I'm loving these analogies. I need to write them down.
I'm going to need you to come through. If I'm going to bring 100, I need you to bring 100. So when we both get together, we got 200.
Absolutely. I love it. Yeah. So tell us about your books. I know you're an author and you have a few books. So share with us your a couple of your bestsellers and how we can find them.
Okay, my new release is The Evolution of Me. This is the cover. I'm so proud of it. The Evolution there. And it is a poetic memoir. And so I share with you my ups and downs, my initial perspective of motherhood, how looking at my parents, what that relationship made me think of motherhood, then how society influenced me with motherhood. It was pretty negative initially. And then, so I carried that with me going into marriage and going into motherhood, I should say, because my daughter got the last name before I did. Hey, but that's all right. Y'all learn from my lessons. Don't do the same thing. But but in the story, it's just me taking the reader on a trip of some of the things that I've encountered. And, like you see the roller coaster in the beginning, but at the end that you see the queen rise.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why earlier I was sharing with you the book that I was focusing on now is actually Clearing the Queen's Blueprint. And I'm so ecstatic about that book. And I know I just had this baby. I'm already talking about giving birth to the next one.
Right. Look, come on.
But I'm really, I classify my books as babies. So, but at any rate, that book helps enlighten a woman on how to get back to visualizing themselves and seeing themselves clearly as the queen that they are. And so the other books that I have are novels, and I have children's books as well. My novels are under jblissbooks.com. Those can be found on Amazon or either on my website, jblissbooks.com. My children's literature is under a slogan that my mother would always say to me, which is never stop writing. So neverstopwriting.com is where my children's books are. And the new book is on Amazon, The Evolution of Me, a poetic memoir, and the author is Dr. Jamila Pamoja-Thomas. So.
I love it. I am an Amazon freak, so I'm going to add that to my cart. I'm also going to check out the J. Bliss novels because
hey.
I love a good novel. I love a good story.
Just know this. I definitely enjoyed research.
Okay. I can't wait. I need to pick up a book because my boyfriend reads a lot and I'm just like lacking in that area. I used to read a lot when I was younger, but
I have when the guys come back and give me reviews or talk to me, because I'll have like reading sessions at times where I'm interacting with readers, and the guys will tell me they're so excited and please make sure I keep writing because their woman is just all over them. And I'm like,
listen, let me let me go get it. He is going to love you after I read that book. I am sure, because if that's the feedback you're getting from the guys.
That's why I said you got to be 18 and older for this. This is grown and safe.
Okay, I'm gonna make this episode explicit. So listen, because
and that's what I would do. Like when I would have my reading time, I would say disclaimer: make sure all the kids are away. This is a no kids zone. You're gonna forget our responsibility.
Yep. That's my kind of book. And crazy enough, like that is the type of novel. So I guess that's my genre that I like. But and I like relationship books too. Good. So,
and it's intertwined with that because as an educator, as a love coach, I have so many hats, but I never deter from the fact that I'm teaching someone something. So even in the midst of writing a fun, suspenseful, erotic novel, I'm still making sure there's lessons. I'm still making sure that when you go through the sex scenes, you're actually learning something. You are inspired to go try that out. You are inspired. You know what? The balcony is starting to look like a hot place.
Yes. Listen, let me go ahead and get my
book.
I am. You'll be seeing my name come through tonight. On Amazon and J. Bliss.
Yeah, all of my books are Kindle as well as paperback. So I'm really excited. Yeah, I love to write. I enjoy writing.
Well, I am glad that you were able to get back to yourself and your vision, your dreams, and become this profound author. And I appreciate you for coming on and sharing your personal story and how we can be reminded of these things, because we need these reminders to not lose sight of ourselves, because you give and give and give when it should be on both sides, give and take on both ends. So I love the reminder.
One of the things the key takeaway that I hope all of the viewers and listeners pay attention to is learn to be the best lover for yourself. So that when somebody else comes along, all they're doing is they're watching, they're observing what you do. But not only are they observing, when they do take you on a date, when they do give you gifts, they're just adding to what you already have.
Right.
So if you're already full and somebody's giving something to you, guess what? You're not going to be low.
Right.
So you just make sure you are the person responsible, not only for your happiness, but for your pleasure. Take that responsibility. Don't give that power to someone else.
Right.
Don't do it. It needs to be something that you cherish and you enjoy very much so. I'm not saying don't ever have sex with somebody else. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying be the best lover to yourself first.
Right.
So that anything that somebody else does is just an addition.
Absolutely. Snaps on that. Well, I appreciate you for stepping into the Boss Mom podcast tonight, Dr. J. And we are going to definitely push these books. I'm going to leave those in the show notes for you ladies so you can make your purchase and support this phenomenal author. And as I always leave you ladies with these parting words to stay bossy and stay motivated. And I'm also going to say, continue to love yourself. So again, season 4, episode 8. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you all next time. Hey ladies, if you enjoyed today's episode, do me a favor and leave a 5-star rating and review. You can find the Bawse Mom Movement streaming on Apple and Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and YouTube. Want to keep up with the movement? Visit my website at thebawsemommovement.com and subscribe. Thanks for the support, and I'll see you next time.